Welcome gamers to another video on the Dungeons & Dragons 1 D&D playtest material. The third version just dropped today with some spells and some racial adjustments, revisions, and also a new class, the Cleric, with the life domain. So accompanying that document, which we will discuss on Twitch tonight, we'll go through it live and take a look at it. So come check us out on Twitch, down in the link down in the description. And we're going to go over the actual document and the mechanics of everything. But right now, they also sent out videos discussing some of this. So we are going to watch the video. This is our first watch of the video. So I'm seeing it for the first time along with you. And I haven't seen the document yet, so this is just me reacting to what they're telling us within the video. I don't actually know how any of the mechanics work yet. We'll find that out tonight. So let's get started.
Hello everyone, I'm Cleric and I'm joined with Jeremy Crawford, and today we are...
You'll excuse me, I have the playback speed turned up. I hope you'll forgive me. And here we go again.
Hello everyone, I'm Todd Henrik and I'm joined with Jeremy Crawford, and today we are talking about the 1D&D playtest. And what we're talking about today is the Ardling, Goliath, Dragonborn. We're talking about the Cleric, some changes there, a whole lot of changes actually, and the Life Cleric, as well as the glossary.
You can see the video of my reaction to the other ones right up over there.
Focuses on several different things, all a part of the 1D&D playtest. Now, this includes revisions based on feedback we've gotten on the very first 1D&D Unearthed Arcana, and then it also includes material that's new to the playtest. So the material that's new to the playtest is the Cleric, along with revised versions of several spells that appear on the Cleric's spell list. We then have revised versions of the Ardling and the Dragonborn. We also have a new species option here, which is a revised version of the Goliath, which I'll talk more a bit later, as then also some tweaks in the rules glossary that I think will interest folks.
Perfect. It's definitely like a smattering of a lot of different things in 1D&D this time around. So, you want to jump into the Cleric?
Yeah, let's talk about the Cleric.
Right. So, what's new for the Cleric and the Life Cleric?
So, one of the main things that people will notice when they open up this Unearthed Arcana is that the Cleric's level progression has been altered in a number of ways. So, if you're all right with it, I'm gonna walk us through
2 to 5, back to 3.
What is going on with our
what are you talking
friends,
about?
the Cleric.
Yeah, people are going to want to know.
So, first off, people love the Cleric. The Cleric consistently gets high satisfaction scores and has for the last 8 years. And our goal with any proposed revision to a class is to lean into what people love about the class, while also looking for opportunities to add additional options, looking for opportunities to...
I think part of what people like about the Cleric class is similar to what they like about the Wizard class, in that they can do a lot of different things. You can play a Cleric as a sit back in at the back of the party in robes and cast spells. You can play a Cleric that goes up into combat and smashes goblins while healing the frontline fighter. You can play a Cleric that is just buffing and debuffing and controlling the battlefield. There's part of the reason people like the Cleric is because there's so many ways to play the Cleric. So it'll be exciting to see how they incorporate all those in this class.
Sort of apply oil to maybe any squeaks that are in the system. So in other words, refine things. If things weren't clear, make them clear. If things weren't seeing a lot of use in actual play, either improve them or replace them. Because as we go through each class, we're looking at are there features in each class that maybe haven't seen much use in the last 8 years? If that's the case, those features for us are an opportunity either for improvement or replacement. Again, we look for things that are unclear, and we also look for overall cohesion. How does the leveling up process for each class play out? And then how does it interact with multi-classing? Because multi-classing is a part of the game, and we want to make sure that our classes are interacting with it in a way that's appropriate.
It's true. A lot of multi-classing has to do with taking 1 or 2 levels in another class, simply to grab a bunch of the first level or second level features of the class. Some classes were much more front loaded, while other classes were had all the power on the back end. So the classes that were front loaded got multi-classed into a lot, and it would be nice if all the classes were equally front loaded and had the same amount of power on the back end. I know that's difficult to facilitate, but it would be nice if they could do that, so that we could then not have to worry about every character that's a caster taking 2 levels of Warlock or 2 levels of Cleric, so they can get some heavy armor, or what have you. It's been a problem in 5e, so it'll be interesting to see how they balance that stuff out.
So all of those factors play into what's going on with the Cleric. So the immediate thing that Cleric players are going to see is you no longer choose, in this version of the class, your subclass at first level. Instead, subclass is at 3rd level.
I would like for all classes to pick their subclasses at the same level. That seems to make more sense to me. However, I would prefer that happened at first level. The subclass is what gives flavor. Now, I understand at first level, you're generally learning how to play that class, but it's weird if you are taking spells and things because of a class that you're planning on taking later, or a subclass you're planning on taking later. Like it's like you've taken the subclass before you've taken the subclass, because usually you've already looked ahead to see what it is you're going to which subclass you're going to take. So you've really already taken it. It's just a matter of what abilities you get. I'm glad that they're all getting them at the same place, because that's part of the reason that some classes got multi-classed into more quickly, was because they did get their subclass. So they got a whole bunch of features besides just the ones that the class generally gets.
This is something that was true in the 3 expert classes. Now, in their case, like for instance, the Ranger already was choosing its subclass at 3rd level.
Right.
But here we are for the first time in the playtest, playtesting a class who previously got their subclass at 1st level.
Right.
The trend for the whole playtest is going to be subclasses at 3rd level.
Gotcha.
Here's why. What we have seen over the last 8 years is that classes that have a subclass choice at 1st level, and even sometimes at 2nd level, have 2 big issues with them. The biggest one is they are a blocker for brand new players. So
Yeah, it's not good onboarding.
exactly. So if you have never played D&D before, many of our other classes,
If you've never played D&D before, then none of it makes sense to you at first. So, I understand trying to keep it simple at the beginning. I get that, but saying because a new player isn't familiar with these abilities, so we don't give them more abilities, it doesn't seem like a useful argument. You might as well just say there are no classes at 1st level, because classes are complicated, and a new player is not going to understand that. So your 1st level character just gets a stick, and so that you can learn the mechanics. I mean, it's not a good argument. I disagree with the point behind doing it. I understand what they're saying, and it's fine to get the subclass at level 3. Like I said, I'd prefer it was at level 1. So I understand their point. I just think it's a bad argument.
The fighter, the rogue, and others.
Right.
You pick at first level. You might have a minor choice to make in a particular class, but otherwise you can get playing.
Yeah.
And typically, we've designed first level to only last a session or two, and then you're moved along until you finally make that meaty choice of subclass at third level. When we ask,
I'd like for my dungeon master to see this, because we went through like 5 sessions at level 1 before all of a sudden he's like, oh, I was supposed to give you guys a couple levels. My bad. And so we jumped like from 1 to 4. So, Stick, if you're watching this, too many sessions at level 1.
to choose a subclass at first level, we are suddenly asking you, who may never have played D&D before, to look at every subclass option for that class before you've even played the class.
That's
And make the most important decision for your class
for
that
your
you
future.
will make.
Right.
Like I said, you're already doing that. If you're going to play a fighter and you don't pick your subclass until level 3, well, are you going to be an archer or are you going to be a melee fighter? That's something you've got to know in advance, especially with getting first level feats. But I mean, you're going to be planning ahead. You know what kind of character you want to be, so that isn't an issue. This is an awful argument.
No way.
And even for a veteran D&D player, that's a tall order sometimes.
It's
because
really not.
You might be coming to a class you've never played before. Maybe you normally play barbarians, and you're like, I want to give the cleric a try.
Then why am I choosing to play a cleric? Why am I choosing to try a cleric? It's because I want to play a cleric, and I've got in my head what kind of cleric that is. I know what a cleric looks like, or what my cleric that I'm going to make looks like in my head. And so I'm already planning ahead to what that's going to look like. So it's okay for me to have a subclass already.
First level, choose your subclass and look at every subclass in existence. Now, in the past, we would recommend you take what we think of as the default subclass, because we designed a default subclass for every class with beginning players in mind or veterans in mind who are trying a class out for the first time. But we, for a number of years now, have felt that a far better approach is to let you play the class itself for a couple of levels before you make this momentous decision. And so we're seeing that here in the cleric, where you choose your divine domain at third level instead of first.
And I sometimes am guilty of min-maxing myself, but when it comes to multi-classing, someone is always looking for that easy level dip to get a few extra abilities.
I think we stated that.
Because I mentioned there are two main issues with the classes that have subclasses at first level.
Right.
I mentioned the most important one of the two issues is we're asking you to make this momentous decision before you even played the class.
Right.
Before you even see what it's like to be just a vanilla member of the class. But that second issue is multi-classing. We have found repeatedly that the classes that have a subclass choice at first level are the ones that end up in most of the multi-class combos.
Which is
that
also something we said.
People often end up sort of gritting their teeth about in particular groups.
I see one more 2-level dip into Hexblade.
And
Now, I have a wizard that's dipping into Warlock, but it's not for Hexblade. So I'm just saying. And it has nothing to do with these subclass features at all. It simply has to do with the spell selections and some invocations. It has nothing to do with subclass at all. I'm just saying.
People are still going to do 1 or 2 level dips into classes. That's fine.
Right.
I mean, that's part of how multiclassing works. But we also want there to be more of a commitment to a class before you choose subclass.
Right.
And that's why subclasses are moving to 3rd level.
Perfect.
Now, the upside for the classes themselves are many. And you'll see that here in the Cleric. By getting subclass off of 1st level, it then means we can actually do more with 1st and 2nd level. The 2014 Cleric actually had no feature at 3rd level,
Right.
other than getting spells. Now, with this approach, the Cleric has unique features at 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level. So the Cleric actually is coming out ahead, in just in terms of sort of like
Giving someone a subclass at level 1 is too much for them to handle. So instead, we're just going to give them a whole bunch of different features at each and every level all the way through, because that's any different somehow.
quantity of abilities by getting subclass off of 1st level. Because now at 1st level, you not only get your spell casting, which of course is iconic for clerics, but Channel Divinity, which used to be at 2nd level, now moves to 1st. And that means clerics can go back to their classic ability to turn undead starting at 1st level. But then we also beefed up Channel Divinity by giving it a 2nd default option, which is Divine Spark. And this is an ability that clerics will have to channel just raw power from the outer planes to either harm somebody or heal somebody. And this is really fun, I think, as an addition for clerics, because it means clerics will have a built-in way to heal or harm independent of their spell choice. So if, say, you've decided you're not going to prepare any healing spells, you can always now lean on your Channel Divinity with Divine Spark to heal somebody, or if you're feeling salty, instead to harm one of your foes with it.
Right.
Now what this introduces also is a nice progression, where the Cleric has Channel Divinity, the vanilla version, before they then get an additional Channel Divinity option from their subclass. Whereas before, you were sort of getting subclass first, then Channel Divinity, and
Yeah, but you get 2 options for Channel Divinity now at level 1, whereas before you got as soon as you got your subclass, then you got 2 options for Channel Divinity. So either way, you're still getting 2 options.
and then Channel Divinity came with it also a subclass add-on. You now get to experience each of these features just as a cleric. And now there will be more of a shared pool of experience for clerics, as there is for our other classes. Because again, many of our classes already in the 2014 Player's Handbook don't choose their subclasses until 3rd level.
Right.
And the advantage experientially of those classes is you get to a taste of just what it means to be a fighter before you flavor that with Battle Master or Champion or Eldritch Knight.
Right.
And here you get this new juicy version of Channel Divinity at 1st level. And then at 2nd level, you get a brand new feature where you get to select kind of a little bit of job that you have in your religious order or as a sort of solo religious
Sort of like a
person
subclass.
that leans into some of the mechanical themes that previously were in subclass, but we've now disconnected from subclass. Here are the 3 main examples. You can choose Protector, meaning you have training with heavy armor, and you also have martial weapon proficiency. Previously, this was built into certain subclasses, while other cleric subclasses had a more sort of either spellcaster focus or more of an almost mini expert focus where it's all about skill proficiencies. What we realized is that people often want to mix and match more. Some people, like previously, the life domain would come with heavy armor training built into it,
Right,
but some people maybe don't want to play a life domain cleric who's wearing armor.
Right.
So we've taken that choice out of subclass and put it into the class itself. So you decide at second level.
That I'm surprisingly okay with.
Protector? Are you a scholar? If you choose scholar, then you get extra skill proficiencies. Or are you a thaumaturge, meaning you get a little bit more of magic. Now the nice thing is later on at higher level, we let you then choose a second one of these. So you get to kind of explore your different jobs either within your religious order or again, if you're a solo practitioner, you still get to delve into these different specializations. This then leads to then third level where you pick your subclass.
Right.
And in this Unearthed Arcana, the subclass we provide is the life domain, because we think of the life domain as the default subclass, which continues to be all about healing. That subclass is beloved, and it is mostly in the form that people are accustomed.
I mean, historically, that's what in older editions clerics excelled at, was healing. That was their primary focus. Not as much anymore. You can certainly have healers that don't do that. Even in previous editions, you could have healers that didn't do that. But the first 15, 20 years of D&D was priests and clerics heal. You get hit, I give you your hit points back. So I think that makes sense, that the life domain is their default version of that.
Too, with some tweaks and clarifications. Now, there's something else that is a part of the movement of the cleric subclasses from first level to third. We've made several other subclass-related tweaks. The big one being also that no longer is Divine Strike or Potent Spellcasting going to be a part of the new subclasses. This was another choice that we made as designers, similar to things like heavy armor training, that we sort of pre-built into the subclasses, but which often didn't align with a particular player's fantasy for their cleric, because they might play somebody where we chose Divine Strike, but they would rather be more of a spellcaster cleric and would rather have potent spellcasting. So riffing off what we did in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we now give you a Blessed Strikes feature instead in the base class that you can use to enhance your weapon attacks and your cantrips. So we don't make you choose anymore, and we don't make the choice for you.
Right.
Instead, we just give you this goodness in the base class. You also don't wait for 8th level anymore to get it. You now get it at 7th level in the base class.
Ooh, a whole level early.
I mentioned before that at higher level you'd get another choice between Protector, Scholar, and Thaumaturge. Well, that kicks in at 9th level.
It's a lot of stuff for the cleric.
Absolutely. Divine Intervention, because the cleric is now getting their subclass feature at 10th level,
Right.
Divine Intervention has moved to 11th, and Divine Intervention now has a variable recharge rate. So before, when you used it, it was a set amount of time until you could use it again.
Right.
Now you roll dice for it, and you could potentially use it as soon as 2 days from now, if the dice roll in your favor.
Is it as powerful as it was before?
It's still really good.
It's still like limited wish.
Where we say the effect of any divine spell is appropriate. So we direct you to the divine spell list to choose an effect there that you are praying for.
What was the additional choice
interesting.
that you had though before, like when it came to protector and everything else?
Oh, so at second level you choose Protector, Scholar, or Thaumaturge,
Yeah.
and then at ninth level you can pick one of the other two that you didn't pick at second level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So in the end, you will get two of the three choices
Gotcha.
as you move through your career as a cleric. Then, as people saw in the expert classes, the cleric's former 20th level ability is now moved down to 18th level, so you're going to get it sooner, and that is your divine intervention being usable even more often, and it happening automaticely. There's
Right.
no chance of failure, which now means at 20th level you get to choose an epic boon. And there are a few new epic boon feats that appear in this Unearthed Arcana in support of the cleric. One of those being the epic boon of fate, where the cleric can roll a die and either help somebody succeed or help someone fail.
Right.
Yeah, the epic boons in the last playtest material, some of them were real good, and some of them were not very good at all. Some of them would be useful all the time, and others are very situational and would never be used. So I feel like some of those epic boons needed to be tweaked a little bit.
And again, leaning into this theme of the cleric tapping into divine power and often altering reality because of that power. The cleric also has a list of suggested prepared spells, just as people have seen in our expert classes UA. And then some of those spells have new versions in the glossary that is in this UA.
Was there anything about the life cleric we needed to cover real quick?
So the Life Cleric gets features at 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 14th level. Again, people are going to see that subclass progression has, in almost every case, been normalized, if not every case. And really here, because the Life Cleric so solid, there's mostly like functionality tweaks. For example, the Disciple of Life feature that allows the Life Cleric to heal a little more whenever they cast a healing spell. We have clarified what was actually our original intent, but that we did not successfully communicate in the 2014 Life Domain Cleric, is that this kicks in when you cast a healing spell on a creature. There have been a lot of questions over the last 8 years about, well, if I multi-class, the most common combo is if I multi-class
Goodberry.
and I'm a druid, does this work on Goodberry? Given how we worded it before, yes, it did work on Goodberry. In this revised version, it would not, because instead it's boosting the life energy that you channel to a creature.
Right, correct.
And so it's
Semantics.
It's no longer this sort of mysterious thing of does it apply or not to maybe spells.
So the target has to be a creature that you're healing. So it wouldn't work on Goodberry. I'm trying to think of the spell. There was a spell that creates an aura. Would it not affect spells with auras? Like the aura of vitality, maybe it was? Or there's another one like a healing spirit. Will it not affect the healing on the healing spirit? Be interesting to see how that works.
That produce healing effects at a later time.
Right,
It's like,
gotcha.
no, as I'm channeling life energy to a person, you can boost it.
Makes sense.
Again, it was actually always our intent, but sometimes the intent does not make it fully into the words. And then we stand by the words that are on the page.
Right.
Because that's the game that people have in
I
their
mean,
hands.
kind of.
So
what sage advice is
most
all
of what's
about.
here is, it's like little tweaks to make it clearer how these things function. And the life domain cleric continues to be an amazingly powerful healer. Really, if a person wants to be all about the healing, the life domain continues to be the best place for that.
Perfect.
Okay. Those are not, oops,
So today for 1D&D, I'm here with Jeremy Crawford, and we are...
those were not my links. I will put my links up shortly after this, but I am excited to see the changes they've made to Cleric. I know that I sounded very negative, especially at the beginning of the video. I don't mind those changes. They sound like they're going to be good, but sometimes the logic behind why they do things makes no sense to me at all. So that's all. I was just railing on their rationality. They decided they wanted to do something, and then they tried to find a reason to give us for why they did it. I prefer they just did it. So anyway, that's our video for today. We will be on Twitch again tonight, taking a look at the playtest document and actually seeing the stuff in the Cleric and how it works. And we can discuss what we think of the changes that were made there. And so come and check us out there. And otherwise, we'll see you guys later. Keep on hacking the dungeon.